is a little bit of psych.
Oh.
We're going to go with that. Okay, so as stated, I didn't know where to go with this. But what I
Homunculus 2.
Homunculus 2. But when I thought of devilish details and like in the bad way, the first thing that came to my mind was like mindlessly agreeing to Apple terms and conditions.
Oh, God,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, like what are you signing on to? Like a Black Mirror episode.
Oh, no.
Like that episode of Black Mirror that's like not Netflix, like Blueberry or whatever they called
I
it.
could use my
we
likeness.
own all your life.
Yep.
Which
Your
like is becoming a
IP.
thing.
Your likeness.
The IP of your face and voice.
yeah.
I
The
hate
intellectual property of your intellect and personality.
it. AIP.
Ooh. Okay, so we all skip the terms and conditions when we're signing up for shit like that because why bother reading it?
Yeah.
But sometimes there is more to them than just boring legal jargon. According to NPR, Georgia high school teacher Donnellen Andrews, and this was sometime before 2019.
Okay.
The article didn't say when it happened, but it was a little while ago. So this high school teacher won a $10,000 reward after carefully reading the terms and conditions that came with her travel insurance policy that she purchased for an upcoming trip to England.
Oh, wow.
So she purchased travel insurance through an insurance agency.
She actually read it.
And it was like hidden in there.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
So the $10,000 reward was part of a top secret pays to read campaign that insurance company, which is called Squaremouth, had launched to highlight the importance of reading policy documentation.
That's fucking
so cute.
brilliant.
So it was like the first person to call this number to claim your reward, you get 10 grand.
Hell
It's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I remember in elementary school, I'm sure lots of people did this, but there was one time in like 4th grade where our teacher like handed out a quiz to all of us. It was like a long quiz, several pages. And she kept saying like, read through the instructions first before you start.
Yeah.
And the instructions were kind of long and they were at the top. And
I never would have read them.
yeah, definitely not. And the last instruction, or like second to last instruction, was like, write your name at the top of this paper. Don't answer any questions. Flip it over and say you're done.
And no one did it.
No one did it. And we all just like agonized through this quiz.
That's amazing. I would have agonized with the quiz too.
Yeah.
I love that. This isn't quite the same, but this was like one of the very few times I cheated on a test and it worked.
Ooh.
It was well, it couldn't have been a spelling test. I guess it was like a vocabulary, like write the definition test in an English class. And there were 10 words and I didn't know one of them. I didn't know like number 7. So I just listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and then skipped 8, 9 to 8, 9, 10 and just did not list a number 7. So it didn't look like there was a gap in it. She didn't notice.
Wow, that's not cheating. That's just being clever.
Well, I felt like I was cheating.
Oh my god.
You know,
Such
I don't like
a goody two.
I don't like to misbehave.
I dropped my late homework so that it floated and slid directly under my teacher's desk and wedged under. And then I was like, I turned it in. I don't know.
Bitch,
And then
you lost it.
Yeah, and then he found it and he apologized to me.
As he fucking should.
Pays to read, pays to be
A little
clever.
sneak. Yep.
Little details.
So in 2010, as part of an April Fool's joke, the British retailer GameStation, not to be confused with PlayStation or GameStop,
Okay.
inserted a new clause into their license agreement and pre-checked that agreement box for users. So the problem was that the new clause meant that the clause said that users would grant GameStation permission to claim their souls. and it was pre-checked.
Love it.
So if GameStation, according to this clause, if GameStation were to exercise their right to the soul transfer, they would serve the notice in the form of 6-foot-high letters of fire.
Amazing.
If people read carefully enough, they would have realized that they could get out of that clause by clicking a certain link. So you could click the link if A, you do not believe you have an immortal soul. B, you've already given it to another party. Or C, you do not wish to grant us, Game Station, such a license.
Incredible.
So
I
if
love
you-
that.
So if you read it and then you could click the link, then you were awarded with a voucher of some kind.
Brilliant.
Okay, all right.
So
Pays to read.
pays to read. And then here's the last example, and it's not completely on point, but Scott's mom, Denise, sent this to me a couple days ago.
Oh, okay.
And I loved it, and it fits with this. So back in 2017 in Maine, there was a pretty major lawsuit between Oakhurst Dairy and their milk truck drivers. And it involves a hotly debated topic among grammar people, the serial comma.
Oh, important.
Very important. So according to Maine state law, workers are not entitled to overtime pay for the following activities: the canning, comma, processing, comma, preserving, comma, freezing, comma, drying, comma, marketing, comma, storing, comma, packing for shipment or distribution of agricultural produce, meat and fish, or perishable foods.
Okay.
So
Isn't
because
that their job?
there was no serial comma in packing for shipment or distribution of, the drivers could say, we don't pack anything. And this sentence is merely outlining two different types of packing and not two distinct activities. So in other words, this is per the New Yorker. The issue is that without the comma after shipment, the packing for shipment or distribution is a single activity. So truck drivers don't pack food either for shipping or distribution. They drive the trucks
Yeah.
and deliver it.
So they don't pack the trucks with the already packaged food.
They
Correct.
just distribute, not pack.
So, but the intention was that the distribution of was its own activity, but there was no comma. So it was up for interpretation.
Love it.
So therefore, the exemptions do not apply to the drivers, and those drivers who worked overtime were entitled to their compensation, and Oakhurst Dairy ended up owing them some $10 million.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Also, how can you just say, like, you don't get overtime for these activities
Right.
if you go overtime? What?
Well, maybe they're saying don't go overtime.
Yeah. That's their veiled way. If
I
we
mean,
can't
there's
if we can't give you overtime for any of the following things, it just means you can't go into overtime.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess, but
It's just a
weird.
shitty, like,
It's like, what if
scammy
you're-
way of
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. And they have to have contracts like this in their business shit anyway. So
Ugh.
anyway, I loved it. Go serial comma. There is no fucking reason why you shouldn't have a serial comma.
Yeah, what are you saving by not putting in that comma?
I don't know. I don't understand the other
What's
argument.
the- yeah. Yeah. What's the point of not having it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, so those are some devilish details, but linking this to crime because that is the cornerstone of this
That is
podcast.
ostensibly why we're here.
Sure.
Sometimes.
Forensic pathologists are required to estimate the time of death in order to, amongst other things, reduce the investigation period and the number of suspects in homicide cases. It's also, as we know, helpful in piecing together a timeline of events leading up to the death in question. So multiple factors can affect the development of post-mortem changes in real-life scenarios. Therefore, it's critical to use multiple methods of estimating the PMI, post-mortem interval, to help establish a reliable timeline. The estimated PMI provides a basis for arguments in court, and it is very important for a forensic expert to ensure that the post-mortem changes are well interpreted and that the proper inferences have been made. They need to know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah. Can
Right,
you make
right.
or
Because
break?
everything rides on that, basically.
Yeah.
And there are
Alibis, timelines.
and there are so many variables that you really have to read every single detail and interpret it correctly to for it to work.
I wonder if somebody has had like a lot of plastic surgery and Botox, if asking for a no, I'm kidding. I've only had Botox and only once, but if that would affect like the rate of decomposition.
Maybe on the face, but not like throughout the rest of the body.
Yeah, like
Or
only
other
on
parts of
those
the body.
places. Like,
Those procedures are pretty localized. So if only the face remained, then sure. But I would imagine there are so many other tissue samples available to indicate those factors of decomp that
yes,
Probably
and
not.
people get Botox in their armpits, on their bellies, on their
Yeah.
legs. Like,
no, that's true.
People, you can get
For
Botox
sweat.
for sweating and
So it could
in
it
your
could
throat
have,
for burping.
Oh, yeah, it certainly could have be a factor. I would just imagine there's like a lot of tissue in a body
there's
Yeah.
other
that you can
places to look.
examine. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah.
Another
But
reason to check that
that's
vitreous
put it on
humor.
the list.
Mhm.
Botox crimes.
Ooh, I like that. Plastic surgery crimes.
I'm into it.
She's had some work crimes.
I have. Let's do this.
Okay, so if there is a large range in hours or even days in the PMI, that information may not be useful to law enforcement. It could also poke holes in the prosecution's theory. So defense lawyers can be like, you don't even know when this guy died. Sometimes the tiniest details, such as insect evidence,
Very important.
can help establish a PMI. There are two main ways to assess the PMI of human remains using entomological evidence. We've done forensic entomology. We've talked about this, but I'm grasping at very small straws here.
It's still so great and so interesting.
I
There's plenty
know.
to say.
Yeah.
Also, don't Google maggots on corpse
Okay.
if
Wasn't gonna,
if you're feeling at all queasy.
but thanks for the warning.
I did during Amanda's
we had
wine
very
segment.
different pregnancies.
You Googled that during my wine segment? That was like
I was
2
looking for-
minutes.
But I know I was looking for pictures to add to my folder.
A nice minerality, maggots on corpse.
Maggots on corpse. Oh
I
my
saw some things. I saw some shit.
You saw some I've seen some shit.
Okay, so one of those ways to incorporate the entomology is to look at the insect succession of arthropod species found on a body. So insects arrive at decomposing remains in really predictable successive waves,
Sure.
depending on the stage of decomposition, obviously the environment where it is, whatever. But it's really easy to predict. The other method involves looking at the degree of development in the oldest maggots feeding on the biological material, from which one can determine a close approximation of the time since death, because those flies get to work
Quick.
within hours.
Yeah. They're not fucking around.
So the reason why this is a method that works is because insects, like I just said, often lay their eggs within hours or even minutes after death. And maggots in particular molt 2 times before they become a prepupa and then a pupa and then a fly, all within a few weeks. So since maggots are constantly eating, they're growing really quickly.
Right. So they're changing really fast.
They're changing really fast. So looking at the
Yeah.
size,
Predictably.
yep. And so looking at the size and the stage of pupation that they're in can
Gives
give you
a good timeline.
a lot of information.
Are there
Interesting.
places and climates where maggots don't exist?
Antarctica,
Right.
underwater.
Sure.
Those are 2 spots you could move to avoid maggots if that's where this is
Are
heading.
you trying? The
Try to
Indian
pick your
Ocean.
the
Try to
Indian
pick
Ocean.
Yeah, try to pick your next vacation spot or
No maggots.
Kenyan on house hunters.
must be in a climate where maggots cannot exist.
My blood
I'm a
stipulation.
millennial trying to house hunt. No
Yeah.
maggot.
No maggots. Budget is $6 million.
No. I just meant like for death investigations. Like, yeah, I guess the Antarctic.
And underwater.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
like,
mean,
I
as
guess-
far as like in the open air,
well, because some places don't have mosquitoes, so I just thought maybe some places don't have.
Wait, where doesn't have mosquitoes?
Lots of places don't have mosquitoes, like parts of
What?
Europe.
I'm Googling.
I think.
Where doesn't...
I feel like flies.
Yeah.
There are lots of different
Mosquitoes.
species of flies. And there might be fewer species of mosquitoes.
Countries
Right?
without mosquitoes 2023.
Flies
map.
live wherever they can find food. They thrive on every continent except Antarctica.
Antarctica and Iceland are the only places without mosquitoes.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Iceland, top of the list.
Yep. I can handle that.
It is in Europe. She wasn't wrong.
No, she wasn't.
What about the Arctic? Not just the Antarctic, the regular Arctic.
I don't know. I already exited out of the thing. I already don't care.
Well, we'll never know.
I'm not moving to any kind of Arctic, so I'm not going to be without maggots or mosquitoes. That's what I've gained from this.
Yuck.
Yep.
Oh my God. Okay, so both methods, meaning the waves of predictable insects and also the maggot maturity, rely on a variety of factors such as season, climate, the location of the corpse, etc. And also, this reminded me of that Netflix documentary about the nuns, about
Yeah.
the nun raping.
Oh, okay.
My sister's keeper or the keepers.
Yeah. The keepers.
keepers.
There we go.
Keepers. That was so good.
Because that hinged on whether or not there were maggots on that one nun's face. That
Yeah, they
girl
were trying
saw.
to gaslight that girl into thinking that she had a false memory of the maggots.
Yeah.
She was like, nah, bitch, I've seen some
Yeah.
shit.
That
Yeah, and it was in like
series
in
is so
November. They were like, you wouldn't have seen maggots.
It was
on that one."
unseasonably warm.
I'm due for a rewatch of The Keepers. I haven't watched that in forever. Good holiday pick.
Yeah, good feel
family-
good Christmas.
Family fun.
Yeah, a good fall rewatch. Cozy fall rewatch.
It is kind of a cozy fall rewatch
I
in our
mean,
world.
yeah.
It was surprisingly comforting. I thought there was just something
yeah.
about all those nuns and like moms who came together to
People
like
coming
solve it.
together. Yeah,
To like
as a
take
community.
down a fucking ring of like fucked up.
Patriarchal rapists.
Yeah,
Who are all
patriarchal
dead
rapists. I'm here
anyway.
for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Cozy fall.
Anyway, maggots.
well, we're over the maggots now. But wrapping this up, you guys always get mad at me when I tell people how to get away with something criminal. But
I've never gotten mad at you for that.
I just don't want others to get bad. But I'm
I
taking
love
notes.
when you do this.
there are some loopholes for us, and I'm not condoning any of this, and I don't know how up to date these are, so take these how you will.
Well, I sure hope you liked that clip. If you did like that clip, make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube channel, leaving us a nice review, and joining us on Patreon for even more video content, audio content, salacious content all around. Come join us. Treat yourself.